Irelia is one of League's hardest and most fun champions. She has one of, if not the highest skill caps in the entire game, and can completely turn the tide of a game with a single good team fight. The hardest part about Irelia is her E. It's a very strange skill shot that takes a lot of getting used to and learning to fully figure out its full potential. So I made this quick guide so you don't have to learn it yourself. I have put together every single way to use Irelia's E that I could think of into this video. Sadly, I don't have clips from real games of every mechanic I showed, but I do have practice tool clips that should give a clear understanding of the mechanic. First, let's start off with the basics of the ability. I will have timestamps on the screen if you want to skip to the more difficult mechanics. Irelia's E is very strange in the way that it is basically two skill shots in one, and you have to wait for both of the skill shots to finish and reach their targets before it actually does anything. After you put your first E down, you have to wait 0.2 seconds before putting the second E down. Obviously you can just spam E, but I really recommend you go into practice to it and work on perfectly timing your fingers to hit that E at the 0.2 second interval to get it as fast as possible. If you do not recast E, it will automatically send your E to your current location. This will not happen though if you are channeling W. Hopefully this will get patched in the future though. You can also throw Irelia's E during any CC, so in lanes like Malzahar and Garen, it is good to throw the first E down and just wait and stun them while you are silenced. The first way to throw your E is just side to side. This is the way most new Irelias use their E, and it isn't necessarily a bad way to do it, but it isn't the best. There are some situations where it is better to do this, such as trying to hit two targets if your ult is down, or you don't want to use it yet. Or maybe you can see a minion wall like I did in this clip, and knew if I threw it there is zero chance of dodging, but in general, this is not the way you should be throwing your E's on Irelia. This next way is the main way you should be using your E's on Irelia. This is an essential thing to learn and is really simple. Throw the first E at the enemy and throw the second E on top of yourself. The reason for this is because of the travel time with Irelia's E. Irelia's E is honestly kinda slow when you throw it far, so it's best to throw the first one far and throw the second one while it is still flying towards the target, causing the blades to instantly collapse as soon as the first E reaches its destination. You should not be using this while chasing down a target and they are almost at max range, as it is easy to outrun. Throw the second E at the target in that situation. The next way to throw out your E literally increased my rank by 2 divisions when I learned it. It's such a good skill to have, but it's actually really difficult to pull off. You want to EQ a low HP minion at the same time. This will hide your first E as Irelia will be on top of it while it's flying out. Then use your second E as soon as you reach the minion and stun the enemy. This is a really good surprise attack in lane and should allow you to score many easy kills, but it is slightly difficult to hit the second E. The next way is really similar to the last, but I only recommend doing this if you are either really fed or the enemy is really low. If you E behind you, or honestly like wherever, it doesn't really matter, and then QE the enemy, they basically have zero chance of dodging your stun. You should see players like TF Played and other high elo Irelia players doing this a lot, but you should really only see it when they're smurfing. Please do not do this unless it is 100% a kill, as it is basically trolling your fight if you waste both your E and Q at the same time. Along with this, you can also cast your E anytime during your Q. Okay, now this is the best way to use E in my opinion. It's honestly just insane in how stupidly good it is to throw your R out and then E somewhere near where you started and then just dash to the final target and use the E on the same target you dashed to using the last trick. I don't know how, but it always happens where people just line up and you get a multi-stun after your R. Maybe it's luck, but if I hit a 3-man ult, I'm typically hitting at least 2 people with my E using this, usually resulting in their death. This is not a hard thing to do either. Any Iron player up should be able to do this with just a little bit of practice. I do recommend after you watch this video to go into practice tool and try it out for a little bit, and just to get the timing perfectly, because it's really useful and it will really help you in a lot of your team fights. Sometimes I'll literally just hop into practice tool, put on some music, and spend 20 minutes just doing this over and over again, just to get the muscle memory down. The next way to use your E is what I guess I would call a slow E. In my eyes, there are only really 2 acceptable ways to use these, other than just baiting out parry or something. The first way I would use something like this is to bait out a blink-like ability such as Flash or Ezreal E. Typically when you throw fast E's all game, people will start to expect them, so it's good to mix it up from time to time. In this clip, I throw my E behind Ezreal and then wait for his E, and then I flash E Q to kill him. This is just being patient and should come naturally over time, but it does make you look like a better player. The next slow E method is either zone or retreat on Irelia. If you throw your E towards the enemy while running or just stalling, they will most likely not walk in front of it because it's a free stun if they do. If they chase you and there's an E behind them, they are just stupid and it's a free stun and there is no reason for them to do that. I don't have any clips of me doing this in an actual game, but I do this very often. But here's a clip where I used it to keep a talent off me while I waited for my Q cooldown to come back up. I threw it into the tower, and as you can see, he did not come up near me until it finished. But I was very fed this game. I did use it too early, but that E allowed me to almost kill him and live. The next way to throw out your E has multiple ways of doing it, and is actually probably the most advanced way to do it on this list. It isn't useful in 90% of situations and might be a waste, but that other 10% could be the difference between you landing your E or just getting completely shut down. You can almost completely hide your E animation with your W. A lot of people know about the EQE from earlier and look out for it in lane now, but this mechanic is still not common at all, so people fall for it easily. I have seen it used by some high elo players, but a lot of low elo players don't use it. It is really only useful when you're trying to catch someone off guard and is really good against Yasuo and Fiora, because they can just say no to your E completely. The way you do this is you tap E and then WE. You cannot cast E while you're in W, so you have to do it the split second after you let go of W. I highly recommend at least trying it out in practice too before you do it in a real game. Okay, now this method is basically just a better version of the previous E. It's less accurate, but harder to see. If you use your first E on top of yourself and throw your WE onto the target, it will be completely hidden. Although this is only really useful with certain skins. The more basic skins don't have enough effects to hide it as well. This is the reason why I primarily use Project and Divine Sword. The third version of this E is probably the most difficult, and I would 100% recommend hopping into practice range before you actually try this in game. It is the same thing as the last one, but mixing it in the Q for a more aggressive play. So you want to EQ a minion, and then as soon as you hit the minion, you want to use your W. I find it's way easier to hold your W than just tapping it. They should have zero idea that your E is even on the ground at this point because you completely hit it. And then release your W and fire your E at the same direction when you have a good angle. This is really difficult to pull off, and I really only do it to show my dominance in a lane that I'm already stomping. But I hope it helps at least one person who's able to pull this off in a game to change the tide of their lane. I don't have an actual clip of this saved, but this is the closest I have, where I do sadly walk away from my first E as the Yasuo is playing too far back for me to actually do it back there. The final way to throw your E out is honestly very troll, but it completely hides the E animation. If you E, recall, and then E again before the actual channeling of recall begins, Irelia will just recall there while her E stuns the target for you. It's completely VM and I love it. Definitely hop into practice tool and try this out. You have to be very fast to get it, but it's funny as fuck when you get it off in a game. Thanks for watching. I hope I helped at least one Irelia player out there learn some of these. But remember, take your time. Don't worry if you can't pull these off all right away. Just work on one thing at a time.